Hey Clayton, so the reason why I wanted to speak to you is because basically the first version of the plugin is finished, and I've been gathering feedback from two users. The thing is that these two users are different. One of them is like very newbie, very he doesn't have programming background, and on the other hand is kind of a developer. So let me show you what I have. Right now you come to Remix, to the Remix website, remix.ethereum.org, and here you just find UMA tutorials, you find it, and then here you will have the plugin load, some instructions, and then some prerequisites that you need to do. This is the UMA tutorials minting tokens locally version, but in Remix. So yeah, to start, I just come, paste it, and then I'm gonna run this Docker container, which is basically a Ganache image with all the UMA contracts load. And then I just come here, I say Web3 provider, okay, and now it's connected. So now I start the tutorial, and then the way I was picturing this is that, you know, in the tutorial, people is following steps. And then the first step was actually to deploy the collateral token. So right now, because this is a clean environment, I'm allowing users to deploy any token that they want to do. Let's say 10,000. I'm also adding some kind of help here so people can know what to do or for instance, if they don't know what a certain parameter is, I'm adding some help which they find useful. Now I'm simply deploying, and what I'm doing is I'm deploying a collateral token, then I go to next, then I'm also able to deploy any price identifier, then I go. If you see, this is the step number 2 of the tutorial also. So, and then I'm deploying a expiry multi-party synthetic contract. I have a date picker, so I can choose the expiration date, also the time. I can assign a name, a symbol, and here I can start defining the parameters of my expiring multi-party contract. So I can define these numbers, let's say, and then I'm deploying. Okay, so yeah, I already deployed this, and then I can do next. So as you see, actually here I can also create synthetic tokens, collateral amount, and so on. So this tutorial in Remix now is the same tutorial that you have in the website. Actually, if we go UMA tutorials, this one. So the idea, the initial idea was to move from this version to a more interactive way. And one of the users actually found useful this. He thinks is good. I also think it's good because users doesn't need to install Truffle, Yarn. At this moment it's only Docker. My initial idea was to not even install Docker, but I couldn't find a easier solution. So for one of the users, this thing was very useful. There are certain aspects that we need to improve, like for instance here, if you want to come back, you cannot come back to the previous step. But then when I was working with the other user that is more advanced, and actually when right now, let's say I want to participate in the developer mining program, and actually I find this tool very useful for me to work because number one, I can run my Docker container with all the UMA contracts. And then here I can simply deploy any collateral, any price identifier, any expiring multi-party, and the addresses, for instance, I have in my local environment all this collateral token, this price identifier, and this expiring multi-party. So I can just copy this address, go to my front end, and copy this address, and then I'll have everything working locally, but I have this user interface that allows me to deploy more expiring multi-party very easy. So my idea was like, okay, one thing that we can do is either create another plugin called, let's say, UMA Synthetic Token Builder plugin that allows me to deploy collateral token, price identifier, and expiry multi-party, but without being a tutorial, just a very like this kind of user interface, but I can go to the section that say collateral tokens, and I simply deploy more and more and more. Or I can go to the section price identifier and I deploy more and more, and the same with the expiring multi-party position. So and then I can just leave away. Don't ignore these parts, because the rest of the parts could be with the EMP tools project, the web project, pointing to my expiring multi-party running in my local environment. So I think there is a lot of potential from that path. With this UMA tutorial path, I think there is something still there for a certain type of user. Okay, so I mean, I would like to know, what do you think about it? What should we do? Should we move into this UMA synthetic builder approach, or should we just release this tutorial, probably get more feedback, and just close the topic, or just leave it like this right now and then just focus in this UMA synthetic token builder? I mean, yeah, what do you think?